The first thing I noticed was not panic. It was the absence of anything personal. The driver's voice came through the warehouse line at 6:42 p.m. He said the same sentence 3 times. I followed procedure. I stayed with the package, then silence. Not dead silence, a careful silence. The kind people leave when they are waiting for a question they already rehearsed. I asked where he was. He said, at the delivery point. I asked what he could see. He said, the building entrance. No street noise, no elevator chime, no barking dog, no angry customer asking why a truck blocked the curb, just his breath close to the microphone. I had heard frightened drivers before. They gave useless details first. A red door, a man in a vest, a broken keypad, a smell in the hallway. This driver gave clean answers. Too clean. And behind him, where a loading zone should have sounded alive, there was only a low electrical hum. My desk sat above Bay 7 behind smoked glass. From there, I watched scanners blink across the warehouse map. Green meant loaded. Blue meant delayed. Red meant human trouble. That night, one red dot sat on Route 19B. The missing package was not expensive, at least on paper. A medical courier label changed that. Temperature controlled, signature required. Failed delivery meant escalation. My job was simple most nights. I checked scans, matched GPS pings, called drivers, and wrote clean notes before managers started looking for someone careless. The warehouse was loud enough to hide mistakes. Belt motors, forklift horns, plastic bins striking metal rails, people shouting over handheld radios. So when a driver sounded flat, I did not assume guilt. Drivers went quiet under pressure. They repeated policy because policy protected them. They said the phrases dispatch wanted recorded. I followed procedure was not strange by itself. A late medical drop could make anyone careful. The first version made sense. He reached the building, something went wrong, and he froze inside the rules. I opened the delivery log, ready to document a routine failure. At that moment, I still believed him. The official version built itself quickly. The handheld scanner showed arrival at 6:31 p.m. The delivery app recorded a door attempt 4 minutes later. The driver called dispatch at 6:42. That was a normal chain. Arrival, attempt, problem, call. He said the recipient never answered. He said the lobby keypad failed. He said he stayed near the entrance because the package could not leave his sight. Every line sounded cautious, but useful. Dispatch marked it as access failure. The system opened a return task. A supervisor below me raised one thumb through the glass. On screen, the package still showed safe custody. The temperature tag looked stable. The route GPS sat near the address. The driver had made the required call before moving. Nothing in that first stack looked dramatic. It looked boring, which is how most true reports look. I typed the note exactly as policy wanted it. Driver unable to access building. Medical package retained. Then the claims queue sent one more prompt. Confirm condition of driver. I called him again and asked a simple question. Are you injured? He waited half a beat. Then he said, I followed procedure. I did not challenge him. Not yet. A man under stress can miss a question. Fear narrows attention. People grab the safest phrase and hold it like a railing. So I asked again, slower. Can you tell me if you need medical help? This time the pause came earlier. It landed before the question finished, not after it. That bothered me. In live calls, people react to meaning. They interrupt, breathe, hesitate, or overlap by accident. Even frightened people leak timing. He did not. He waited like someone counting space between lines. Then he said, I am at the delivery point. The words fit the report. The timing did not. I opened the call recording and watched the waveform. Not because it could prove intent. It could not. But sound leaves small fingerprints. His answers had the same clean gap before each phrase. Almost the same length. Too even for confusion. Too controlled for panic. The official version still stood, but one corner of it lifted. I tried to make the sound fit the building. A lobby could be quiet after hours. Thick glass could cut traffic. Concrete walls could flatten voices and make a person sound closer. That explanation helped for almost a minute. The address belonged to a private clinic. Clinics loved locked vestibules, narrow halls, and humming equipment behind staff doors. A smaller space made sense. I pulled the delivery photo from an older route. The entrance had 2 glass doors, a keypad, and a covered walkway. The street sat 15 feet away. Still, his call did not feel outside. His voice had no open air around it. Every word came back with a short, hard edge, as if it hit walls close by. Not an echo exactly, more like a room answering him. People think silence means nothing is there. In reality, silence has shape. A truck cab, a lobby, and a storage room all hold sound differently. Soft seats swallow speech. Glass reflects it. Concrete gives it back fast. The call did not prove anything, but it moved him inward. The driver was no longer simply near an entrance. Somewhere in the audio, the building had quietly changed size. I kept the line open while I checked the route view. Stay where you are, I told him. He answered, I stayed with the package. It was not quite an answer. Below me, a sorter dropped a bin. The sound cracked across the warehouse. I flinched, then looked back at the audio feed. On his side, nothing moved. No door opened. No shoes shifted. No fabric scraped near the microphone. The line carried only that low hum. I asked him to read the building number. A normal driver would turn, squint, complain about light, maybe step closer to the door. He said the delivery point is correct. Again, safe words. I leaned toward the speaker. Behind his voice, the hum rose and fell in a slow pulse. Not like traffic, not like an idling van. It had a steady mechanical patience. Then I heard something smaller, a click. Not loud, not dramatic, just a dry plastic tick. A second later, the same click came again. 2 clicks, spaced almost evenly. I looked through the clinic photos again. Glass doors, metal keypad, covered walkway. Nothing in that entrance should have clicked like that. For a moment, the click helped him. A clinic entrance could have automatic locks. A keypad could relay through a control box. A security door could test itself after closing. That would explain the pulse. It would also explain his caution. If he stood inside a vestibule, trapped between locked doors, policy would become his only safe language. He would avoid touching anything. He would wait for dispatch. I wanted that version to work. It kept the problem ordinary. I called the clinic number from the vendor file. A night receptionist answered on the 4th ring, tired and guarded. I gave our route code and asked about the front entrance. She said the clinic closed at 6. Then she added one small thing. The outside doors stay unlocked until 7. I wrote it down and circled it once, and that did not break the version. Not completely. A driver could still be confused. Buildings have side doors, service halls, staff buzzers. People under stress often choose the wrong door and defend that mistake. So I asked her about the clicking. She paused. Not at the front, she said. Then, after a breath, maybe near storage. I thanked her and kept my voice flat. Then I pulled the access map from the delivery file. The clinic had 1 public entrance and 1 rear service door. The service door needed staff badge access. Couriers were not supposed to use it. That still did not prove anything. Drivers cut corners when schedules collapse. A late route can make a person try a rear door, then pretend they used the front. It was embarrassing, not criminal. Then the scanner log refreshed. 1 entry sat below the delivery attempt, almost hidden by the app notes. Cold chain compartment open, 6:36 p.m. I stared at the time. The driver claimed he never lost custody. The app supported him. The GPS supported him. The phone call almost supported him. But the compartment log did not. A medical package rides inside a monitored box. Opening that box creates its own record. It does not care about excuses. I checked the sequence again. Arrival at 6:31. Door attempt at 6:35. Compartment opened at 6:36. Call at 6:42. If he was trapped at an entrance, the box should have stayed closed. That one quiet line did not accuse him. It did something worse. It made the clean story physically harder to believe. I gave the trapped driver version one more chance. Maybe he opened the compartment to check the temperature. Maybe he panicked about the medical label. Maybe he wanted proof the package remained safe. That could happen. People under pressure do unnecessary checks, but sound made that version weaker. A cold chain box is not silent when opened. The lid seal pulls air. The latch snaps. Foam inserts scrape. If the phone is nearby, the microphone catches pieces of that action. On the call, I heard none of it, only the hum, only the clicks. People think background noise is just clutter. In reality, it can place a person. Small rooms trap steady machine sounds. Relays tick. Those noises repeat because the machines repeat. Street noise does not behave that cleanly. Doors interrupt it, people pass through it. His background sound had no world around it. It had a machine, close walls, and nothing moving between them. That mattered because the logs now separated 2 events. One system said he was at the delivery point. Another said the cold box opened. The audio suggested a third thing. He was somewhere controlled, quiet, and mechanical. Not outside a clinic entrance. Not standing helpless at a public door. I stopped typing the official note. That was the first dangerous thing I did. The system wanted closure. A clean access failure meant no alarms, no police, no emergency calls, and no manager asking why I delayed the return. I could feel the blame forming already. If I pushed this and nothing was wrong, I would be the supervisor who escalated a confused driver in a delayed box. If I ignored it, someone might lose the medication inside. I called the driver again. This time I did not ask policy questions. "Open your camera," I said. "Show me the package." He did not refuse. That would have been easier. He waited the same measured pause. Then he said, "The package is in my custody." My hand tightened around the headset cord. Below the office window, the warehouse kept moving. Nobody looked up. The system still showed a normal route exception. I switched lines and called the night manager. "I need Route 19B treated as active risk," I said. There was silence on his end. Then he asked the question I was afraid of. "Based on what?" "Based on layers," I said. It sounded weak even to me. So I built it in order. The app layer showed arrival. The route layer showed the truck near the clinic. The call layer showed a driver repeating policy. The compartment layer showed the box opening. Each layer could be innocent alone. Together, they stopped lining up. The manager asked if the GPS could be wrong. I said yes, because GPS can drift near buildings. A phone can appear close to an address while sitting in a parking lot. That helped the driver for 3 seconds. Then I opened the scanner breadcrumb trail. The handheld had not just arrived near the clinic. It had connected to the clinic's Wi-Fi beacon once, then dropped, then connected to a different network name. The second name belonged to our own return cage. I checked it twice. My mouth went dry. The driver's device had touched the clinic area, then later touched our warehouse network, while the app still displayed him at the delivery point. The system had kept the first location alive. Now the case was no longer about a missing package outside a building. It was about which record had frozen and who had used that frozen moment. The manager stayed on the line while I replayed the call. I stopped listening for lies. I listened for missing mistakes. A real trapped driver would ask something practical. Should I call the recipient? Should I move the truck? Can I return now? What happens to the temperature clock? He asked nothing. He performed the safest parts of the job. He stayed with the package. He confirmed the delivery point. He repeated procedure. He avoided every action that would create new proof. No camera, no building number, no keypad photo, no live detail that could be checked. People think deception looks nervous. Often, it looks controlled. Real stress leaks through small disorder. A person repeats themselves, but not evenly. They answer the wrong part of a question. They add useless details because the brain grabs nearby facts. His behavior had no loose edges. That did not make him guilty by itself, but it made the staging visible. Someone had built a version from instructions, not from experience. They knew what the system needed, not what a frightened person would naturally do. The app saw a delivery attempt. The GPS showed a plausible area. The voice supplied policy language, but the human layer was too clean, and that cleanliness became the first part of the case that felt dirty. Security found the package 16 minutes later, not at the clinic. It sat on a lower shelf inside the return cage, behind 2 empty insulated bags. The temperature tag was still blinking, but the seal had been broken. The driver was not beside it. He was in the small equipment room across the hall, holding his phone near a wall charger. That room had 1 refrigerator, 1 vent, and a relay box for the loading door. Pulse. Click. The sound had not lied. The driver said he had been told to wait there. He said another employee took the package for inspection. He said he made the call because he was afraid of losing his job. He had followed instructions too cleanly. The other employee had used the frozen delivery screen as cover. Once the app showed a failed access attempt, the package looked accounted for. The system kept displaying the old layer: clinic location, driver custody, return pending, but the physical layer had moved. The box had been opened inside our building while everyone watched a digital version of it outside. That was the truth I had missed at first. The system had recorded an event. It had not recorded the moment the event stopped being true. People think a clean record is a true record. It is not. A clean record only means each system saw what it was built to see. The app saw a button press. The GPS saw a nearby device. The scanner saw a completed step. None of them saw the whole event. That is why behavior mattered. The driver's voice did not prove theft. The pauses did not prove staging. The quiet room did not prove the package had moved. But each detail tested the official version. A real emergency leaves friction. Someone asks the wrong question. Someone touches the wrong object. Someone gives too much detail or not enough. Confusion makes rough edges. The staged version had smooth edges. It was designed for paperwork. That became the lesson I wrote into the incident report. Do not trust one layer because it looks precise. Match the digital record against sound, timing, movement, and ordinary human behavior. When those layers disagree, the weakest part is not always the person. Sometimes it is the system that stopped watching too soon. The package did not go straight back out. Quality control quarantined it behind a glass door. A pharmacist checked the temperature trace. A hospital coordinator waited on speakerphone without speaking. Nobody celebrated finding it. The driver sat in the break room with both hands around a paper cup. He kept saying he thought he was doing what he was told. This time, the repetition sounded different. It had damage in it. The employee from the return cage was walked out before midnight, not in handcuffs, not in a dramatic scene. Just badge removed, locker opened, statement taken. The medication was cleared later that night. It reached the patient after a delay nobody wanted to explain in detail. The next morning, my supervisor changed the route exception form. 1 new line appeared under failed access. Confirm live custody by visual check. It looked small on the screen, but small lines change behavior. I still hear that call sometimes when the warehouse gets quiet. Not the words, the space around them. A person can repeat the correct phrase and still be telling you the wrong layer of the event. That is where the case was hiding.